How do you define wokeness to everybody?
Well, again, I think it's this collection of ideas that are not building on liberalism, but very often undoing it. Woke is something very different.
I think it goes back to this woke mind virus that's infected the left and all these other institutions.
You know what woke means? It means you're a loser. Everything woke turns to okay? It's true.
Wokeness is a cult. They'd let you die before they admitted that diversity is not our strength.
If you're living in normal reality, this is cartoonish things being said here. Woke. If I say woke, be afraid. Pull out your guns. Punch your children. This is the right-wing version of what woke is, because they need to push as much hyperbole as possible to make sure that people are afraid of everything that they do. So we're looking to find out exactly who really believes this, who follows this line of thinking. So according to a new poll, most people have a positive view of wokeness, albeit maybe barely positive. Here's the details here. Republican presidential hopefuls are vowing to wage a war on woke. But a new USA Today Ipsos poll finds a majority of Americans are inclined to see the word as a positive attribute, not a negative one. Now, 56% being the majority of those surveyed say that the term means to be informed, educated on, and aware of social injustices. That includes not only 3/4 of Democrats, but also more than a third of Republicans. They're not listening hard enough. But overall, 39% say instead that the word reflects what has become the GOP political definition, which is to be overly political correct and police others' words. And that's the view of 56% of Republicans. One last part, most Americans understand that to be woke is to be tuned into injustices around us. That's what Cliff Young said of Ipsos. But for a key segment of Republicans who make up the Trump-DeSantis base, woke is this clear trigger for the worst of the politically correct, emerging multicultural majority. So be afraid, be afraid. Anybody that doesn't like you, who doesn't look like you, who doesn't follow the same background as you, who actually tells you, hey, by the way, there's these folks that you're offending and you're stereotyping and you're calling these names and sending violence their way. Yo, you might want to chill. Woke! I hate diversity. I hate other humans. And that's what people are supposed to follow. So still, the definition of the actual meaning of woke is made clear here by Tahima Lopez Bunyasi, who's co-author of Stay Woke. Here's some real information.
It would seem that the obvious connotations would to be a conscious. It's really telling that a word and a term that has been couched in African-American Black culture and politics for well over 100 years is being turned on its head to be framed as something that there needs to be anti-legislation to shut it down. The word woke does not mean anti-anybody. The word does not mean anti-white. If it means anything anti, it means anti-white supremacist.
There's one more moment when they get to prove exactly what they do and don't know, because back in December, there was this trial of suspended state attorney Andrew Warren, who was suspended by DeSantis for being too woke. Yeah, that was for real. So in doing so, they had to tell everyone what it was that he was being too woke about and how he was being too woke. Let's see if they have an answer.
Florida State Attorney Andrew Warren is now in court fighting his suspension by DeSantis earlier this summer for being a quote-unquote woke ideologue. Seriously, that was the reason DeSantis gave at the press conference announcing Warren's firing. And in court, DeSantis' lawyers were pressed to define what woke means to them. One DeSantis attorney said it was a slang term for activism. Another DeSantis lawyer responded that woke is the belief there are systemic injustices in American society and the need to address them. What? That's actually a pretty good definition.
If one of them said it's activism, it's a hidden term for activism. Last I checked, you can be an activist about anything. You don't have to be a left-wing activist, which also goes into their mindset that if you're an activist, you must be from the left. There's no activism from the right because they feel everything that they want and pushed on folks is just the standard. If you're gonna activate and try and change something and push some kind of political and societal changes, that only comes from the left because they feel that they're just there. But it's the way these things work, Jackson.
I love how basically those numbers reflected like the normies of society versus like everyone who like identifies and votes as a Republican. You know what I'm saying? Like that 39% who was kind of like, oh, go woke, go broke. You know what I'm saying? Like it never fails. You know what I'm saying? Like it, you know, stuff like that. But just in general, one of the funniest things about the clips we just watched is like, again, I can't get over the fact of how weak Ron DeSantis' not yet launched presidential campaign already is. We talked about how Republicans aren't even going to attack Trump for January 6th. They're not going to attack him for anything. They're not going to differentiate themselves. So there's really no point in them running. But Ron DeSantis, if he does enter the race, he's just going to be up on a podium like, woke. And at least when Donald Trump said it, like he made it funny, like it was stupid, you know what I'm saying? But like it was funny. Like, if you know what it means to be woke, it means you're a loser. Like, I mean, like, again, like we live in ridiculous times, but he just does it better. Ron DeSantis can't out Trump Donald Trump.
Isn't it odd that doing it better means you just strip away any other explanation, even if you try and make one up like the rest of them do? It's just, it means you're a loser. Because that really is the basis for what they're saying. That's the basis for what they're saying. It's the basic nature of saying. It's the way the 5-year-old would say it. And that's the way he speaks to his supporters, which is the best way. Because they're like, yeah, loser.
And it's what, you know, because it's like you can't, like the idea that middle America or regular Republicans are tired of Donald Trump, or just even normies, conservative normies in the country. The idea that they no longer like Trump is absolutely not sustained by reality. It just look, you know, it's very common to hear people just really loving Donald Trump everywhere I go. Every time I'm in any forum, any type of discussion, even the polls reflect the same thing. So it's not like it's just like, oh, I have this hunch. You know what I'm saying? But it's really crazy to see, because you can't put the logic into it, because liberals often, they're like, oh, well, Trump's so ridiculous and he's so stupid. Like, so what? Like, the base doesn't care. Like, who cares? Like, stop saying that. You feel me? Like,
because we know the opposite is when they say you're an elitist. This guy was a professor. They're like, yo, if he actually thinks and he's smart, we don't want anything to do with that. Bring me the dumbest, most ignorant, racist, bigoted person possible. That's what they've cultivated, and that's what they've got. Look what happened over Fox News when they can't tell the truth. They never did in the first place.